YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back on Total War Attila, and I'm going to jump into another online battle. This time I'll be playing as the Franks versus the Ostrogoths. You can see my main line here is Sword Heerbahn. I've got 3 Germanic Noble Cav, couple of Frankish Lancers, Crossbowmen, and I'm coming up against an Ostrogothic army. It's got a bit of variety of troops here and some decent cavalry as well. Not as cav heavy as people could be going right now. Cav heavy is definitely a developing meta in Attila, and before I go to calling for any specific changes though, I'd like more time to play the game and let us see how it fleshes out, so that if we are going to make changes and patches and suggest changes to CA, hopefully we can get it right without having to go through a ton of patches. But overall I find that Attila is very playable in its current state. It's actually very fun. And although the game isn't perfect, and there's things that I've definitely noticed that I'd like to have seen improved, this is probably the cleanest launch of a Total War game that I've seen since I started buying Total Wars from launch, which I don't think I got Empire right at launch, but I started not long after that it launched, and then I got Napoleon and others as well. So it's definitely been, I think, a good launch overall. There's definitely lessons to learn and ways to continue to make it better. The launch very much should be successful in my mind, because the game is so similar to Rome 2, so you're taking all those lessons there. Anyway, I'll stop talking about that. He's got 3 Germanic archers, and I want to say these might be the guys with the extended range. The Germanic bows won't be, but I think the Germanic archers have the extended range. Very big danger to my crossbowmen, actually, because of the big range disadvantage there. So yeah, if you take a look horse-wise, so he's got actually not as good as cavalry as he could have brought, because he spent money elsewhere. So a couple of Germanic mounted warband, not bad cavalry, but not going to be as good as the noble Germanic horsemen that I have. Those are definitely some tough guys. If you look, there's a big health difference between the two, so his guys are probably going to suffer here. Let's see, he's got some Germanic lancers. His infantry's not all that great. He's got a couple of elite Ostrogothic pikemen. These guys can be tough from the front, but they're not super worthwhile otherwise. I'm going to push his bows back real quick with some Frankish lancers. Not going to actually charge here because I don't want to eat too many javelins. I actually ended up baiting out javelins pretty well from these Germanic spear units. They have better javelin range than I imagined, so not the best move for me there, but it's okay. Over here I don't want to get mobbed and overwhelmed, so I have to pull my cavalry back, and they're doing some weird stuff here. His cavalry's faster because it's the cheaper, lighter cav, so unfortunately I do get caught, and I can't get away from his Germanic mounted warband, so I quickly have to bring some Frankish lancers over to help, and then I'm going to try and also help with my crossbowmen. Now fortunately here for me, I get a pretty nice charge with my Frankish lancers. It's going to cause some damage to the Germanic warband, and then I'm going to try and fire into this fight with my crossbows. My opponent is engaging me piecemeal though here, fairly close to my lines, which is a risky proposition for him, and you can see that it's actually paid off pretty well for me with that nice charge from my Frankish lancers into his mounted warband. Went very well for me. Had he gone into diamond formation there, it would have been very bad for me, because the diamond formation really helps melee cav avoid a lot of damage on the charge from shot cav, and without that damage on the charge, shot cav just gets destroyed by melee cav. So what my opponent's doing here is way too hasty, and he's also way too far back over here. Sorry, I keep forgetting to turn on the telestration tools. I'll get them turned on eventually where I can paint. But he's gone into this piecemeal engagement back here, and he hasn't even pulled his bows forward. Now these guys are the 200 range bows. You can see they're long bows here. So they are firing from a distance, but if they're shooting at my infantry, they're going to be causing very little damage. If he's shooting at my crossbows, which they have taken some damage, then that's a good target. So my crossbows do pose a very real threat to both his cavalry and his infantry. But these guys have used a considerable amount of ammo for only a little bit of kills so far, but still they are a danger to my crossbows. But letting me get some of his cavalry off the field here piecemeal was a big mistake. My opponent could have tried to come over here and attack my general at the same time as well, and maybe even support with spearmen while he tries to hold the center with his Thracian Oathsworns, which these are some very strong infantry units. These are basically the Odrysian kingdom brought forward into Attila, so these guys are some serious business when it comes to infantry. You can see their stats here, brutal. So yeah, those Thracian Oathsworns would rip my elite Sword Heerbahn a new one. The main thing that I brought the elite Sword Heerbahn for is that they're a little sturdier than axes when it comes to stopping missiles, armor, all that stuff, and they still have the axes that they can hurl, and these axes cause some extremely serious damage. And I'll let you see that. I'm going to actually come up and unload my axes all over his elite Ostrogothic pikemen to get rid of them. And then I'm going to actually engage some of his spearmen. He has some spearmasters out here on the flanks, and then more here in the center. So all of his javelins are being discharged, but my guys are going to actually start hurling their axes. The axes cause a severe amount of damage. They're actually very good against armor. The pikemen don't have a ton of armor, but you can see that the axes are just going to absolutely wreck these pikes for the most part, to the point where I can pretty much just charge them head on. Still not a great choice because they're backed up by the Thracian Oathsworns, but I'm not crazy worried about just charging the pikes head on. They're very thin at this point. They're very damaged. They've eaten a whole bunch of throwing axes, which is very cool, might I add. I'd like to see one of these guys with an axe in the cranium. You can actually see all the axes all over the ground. Very, very neat. So I'm going to go ahead and charge, and you'll see here that his pikes really aren't going to be able to hold back my sword here, Bond. They are elite pikes, though they'll get a few kills, but my guys will start to penetrate in. But what he's going to do here is reinforce with the Thracian Oathsworn, and this is going to be a very tough fight for me because these guys are very, very serious business. So I'm going to have to get my cavalry in to save the day here because my infantry is going to get tanked by these Thracian Oathsworn, who already have 16 kills, and then already 45 kills over here. So yeah, his Oathsworn is going to, just absolutely shred my guys. He gets a nice quick charge here with these Lancers, and he's going to try and get into my crossbowmen. I actually decided to stand my ground, and I'm just going to turn my flaming shot on his Gothic Lancers, who didn't get the best charge. And I'm just going to really focus on getting into his back lines. I tried to run a quick sword charge. These are Spearmasters, though, and they were braced. This was not a good decision. Braced spears can hold back most cavalry. Maybe not Tagmata cavalry, but they do pretty good. So yeah, my infantry is already breaking. This is very, very dangerous. I have not played this part of the battle well, so I'm going to have to be very quick if I hope to turn this battle back in my favor. I am getting rear charges with these Frankish Lancers into his Oathsworns, and it is causing a lot of damage, but also I'm losing my guys here. I do manage to pin his bows down, and his general, he's not paying attention, and flaming crossbow shots into a general are a certain death sentence very quickly, and you can see just how quickly my crossbows are wrecking his general. So if my opponent doesn't respond to that very quickly, it's going to really hurt his morale, and I'm getting very nice rear charges with my Frankish general here, and his bows are being mopped up by my noble horsemen. Yeah, his general here at a huge risk. One of these units right here is his general. So his general is being mowed down by crossbow. That was him actually right in front of us. So yeah, the Frankish general, or the Ostrogothic general dies. This is going to be a blow to the morale. Yep, anyway, and then this is going to be the killer blow to the morale. All these rear charges after the death of the general, more rear charges, so his guys were holding out pretty well, but the rear charges and the death of the general is going to lead to their demise. You can see the morale of these Germanic Spearmasters has dropped considerably. The Oathsworns had a lot of morale as well, and it's dropped considerably, but still quite high morale on these units. And they have done a stellar job. 100 kills here, 173 kills here. But at this point, my crossbows are alive with plenty of ammo. His cavalry is dead, so this battle is definitely mine. Even if he were to kill all my infantry, all I have to do is pull out a cav unit or two and then just kite him with my crossbows. So my sword ear bond not really having to do fantastic in this case. My cavalry was able to help me pull it out. And then the killing of the Ostrogothic general by the crossbows was kind of a nice clutch play for me as well. You got to really pay attention to your general or cavalry in general whenever crossbows are on the field. Look at these Oathsworns fighting down to almost the last man, getting killed by my noble Germanic horsemen. But they fought literally down to the last man here, pretty much. So an impressive, all the way down to the last man, an impressive stand by the Oathsworns, and these Germanic Spearmasters holding out valiantly as well. Not quite getting a rear charge on them here. I was kind of confused about where they are. They're back here. I needed to come around to this side. But yeah, my sword here bond could probably actually mop this fight up. But I actually had decided, you know what, I'm just going to pull away from his Spearmasters and shoot them with my crossbows. But as I start to pull away, they actually start to waver. It may have been because they were doing fairly well in combat, was the only thing keeping them stable, and then they rout. So a close victory for me there. I think I brought... I don't know that I brought the best army. I'm not sure these elite sword here bond were the best choice for me. They, especially considering that he had the Thracian Oathsworn. And even though I damaged his pikes badly, charging frontally into them was still probably a bad idea. I just didn't want to leave my crossbows within range of his bows while I was trying to shoot down his pikes. But a very tricky situation, and him keeping his Thracian Oathsworn behind his pikes is actually a very smart decision, and it's what he should have done. And it can definitely be a good way because it'll protect them from getting charged by cavalry. Cavalry would have just wrecked his Thracian Oathsworn. So I think it's a good move by him. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed this battle. I will be back with more, of course, and I will see you soon.